is exciting, getting ready for the big 4th of July parade here in beautiful Fredericksburg, Texas. This has become Burning with the rebound. Steal.
Welcome to the Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce.
Please all time here, 3,500. So they go to your dad.
And we had that promise to get in John's gospel.
We love living in the country.
When I think about
Husband.
Along the fairways at Lady Bird have a way of slowing life down.
Hey there, well, welcome, Billy fans. This is
on September 25th, 1925.
John
when she sank
Crawford Fritch.
Nature and beauty along the fairways at Lady Bird have a way of slowing life down. While the front nine features significant elevation changes and the tranquility of Live Oak Creek, the back nine stuns with its panoramic vistas of the surrounding hills. As the home of the Fredericksburg Junior Golf Foundation and the Fredericksburg Middle School and High School golf teams, all of us at Lady Bird Johnson Golf Course are proud to support our community's tradition of excellence. Lady Bird Johnson Golf Course. Practice, play your way.
We'll go ahead and get started. I'm glad I'm not nervous getting up in front of a lot of people and talking. This is the biggest crowd I think we've had. Thank you for being here this morning. I'm going to call this Coffee with the City and the County again because we do have a county commissioner in the room. So where's Dennis? I know I saw him right here. So if you have any county-related questions, we can certainly bounce those off Dennis, and we'll ask Dennis for an update too. So have a pretty good program for you this morning. I'm going to talk about a number of very random things, really more of what's coming up for the new year than what's currently going on. One of the questions I'm going to ask, I'm going to go ahead and ask it right now so you can be thinking about this in case I forget. I'm real interested to cover topics that you're interested in hearing more about. I see Rosemary over here. I know Rosemary and I have talked a lot about some of the mobile advertising that you see on Main Street. I'm not even sure what's written on the side of some of the buses, but that's something that the City Council is very interested in. So things like that, whether it's water supply, something you see in the community, something you want to learn more about, that's really the purpose of this meeting. So be thinking about that. If you want to talk to me after, send me an email, talk about it when we go around the room, whatever your preference is. Before we get started here, and this is the hardest part of my job, standing up here, I'm going to go around the room and introduce folks from the city and others in the room, starting over here with Andrew Schmidt, our Parks and Rec Director. We have State Representative Kyle Biederman with us today, going around Tim Dooley, former council member. In fact, he was on council when I came on board, 2013, currently on P&Z. We have Randy Briley, current council member. Garrett Bond, our assistant city manager. Of course, I mentioned Dennis Neffendorf, county commissioner. We have Braxton Raymer right here, Lieutenant Raymer with our police department, Leslie Embry. Our community outreach liaison is with us today, Leslie Embry, assistant to the city secretary, Justin Calhoun, emergency management coordinator, Tony Klein, council member. I've got a special guest with us today I'll introduce. Chris Canese, our Director of Public Works and Utilities, David Young, Police Chief Brian Vorauer. We have Michael Irwin in our building department. And I think that's it. Did I miss anyone? Okay, that's the hardest part. Okay, I wanted to start by giving an update on Fredericksburg Citizen University. I think everyone's heard me mention this. We talked about it last time. This is an opportunity for citizens to get into an 11-month educational program that the city is putting on. It'll start in January. You'll learn everything about city council, boards and commissions, and the purpose and function and composition of all city departments. So it's an opportunity to get involved, learn more about the city organization if you're interested in running for city council, board or commission, or you're just interested in learning more about what we do. We've had 30 applications so far for the Fredericksburg Citizen University. We're going to choose, the council's actually going to select between 15 and 20 individuals. Those applications will be considered the first meeting in January. We'll start that class up a little bit later in January, but if you're interested, that is coming up. I wanted to introduce a special guest that we have. Our new chamber president is with us this morning. I told him I'd put him on the spot. We have Jim McCullough with us. And Jim, I would really like for you to introduce yourself, give just a little bit of information on your background. And I know you're, just about a week or so, on the job, but, talk a little bit about your love for Fredericksburg and maybe a few of the things that, just high level you're thinking moving forward.
Well, I guess full disclosure, I'm a native Californian first.
We have several in the room.
but
Yes,
as
sir.
the saying goes,
All
I got
welcome.
here as fast as I could. And so I come from the hotel industry. I've been very fortunate to live around the world and visit a lot of different countries, and it's unexpected that I ended up here in Fredericksburg. And also, this is the longest I've lived anywhere since I left college. 8 years here, so it's good to be here. I don't have much of a talk about an agenda yet. I'm really in the beginning of my orientation, working with Penny and learning from her. But one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to do a survey of the retail merchants on Main Street, and we're going to talk with them about the issues of open containers and alcohol on Main Street and get some good information from our retailers about that. So that'll be one of the first things. We're going to move the State of the Burg from the fall to the spring. So we'll have that this April, and we'll continue with our candidate forums this spring for the upcoming elections. So is that good?
That's perfect.
All right.
So very excited to have Jim on board. So very excited to have Jim on board. Completely fresh start and new direction there. Look forward to working very closely with the Chamber and all the groups that you're associated with, Jim. So. Thanks for being here this morning. If I could get Dr. Hammerson is with us today to give an update on an upcoming celebration at Fort Martin Scott. I'm not going to give you 15 minutes. I know you could talk for 2 hours about this. If you ever want an event planned, this guy's very thorough. 8 pages worth, I think, every detail covered. So thanks for what you've done so far, and tell us a little bit about what's coming up in the...
Thank you very much, and thanks to the mayor for his proclamation at the last city council meeting declaring this year from December 2023 to December 2024 as the 175th anniversary of Fort Martin Scott. 5th of December 1848 was when the first company of infantry arrived here, and they stayed here till 1853, left during the Civil War, came back in 1866, and departed in December of that year. On the 5th, the anniversary, I gave a presentation out at the Hill Country University Center as part of the OLLI program. I know some of you were out there. It was a great presentation about the history, and the more important thing was that it resulted in about half an hour of questions and answers afterwards, which indicates the level of interest. Mark on your calendar, Friday, the 8th of March. That's the anniversary of when the 8th Infantry showed up here. And eventually this became the regimental headquarters for that infantry regiment. So we're going to do a commemoration there with a variety of activities out on the parade ground. There'll be notices about it, an advertisement in the newspaper. Bring a lawn chair, bring a picnic supper, and bring your flashlight, because we're going to do a concert under the stars with an Army band. They're coming up from Fort Sam Houston, about a 40-person concert band, complete with a vocalist, as well as another variety of activities. In February, there's going to be a pull-out section in the newspaper talking about the history of Fort Martin Scott. And thanks to all those individuals who've been helping doing the research and writing the historical articles about that. So thank you very much. Appreciate
Perfect.
it. 8th of March.
Thank you, Dr. Hammerson. Really good celebration coming up. Come out if you get a chance. Really looking forward to that event. And it's free, no cost. Okay, at this point, if I could get Chief Vorauer to come up, grab a microphone. Whoever else on PD you want to help present a couple of new initiatives in the police department.
Thank you, Clinton. Good morning, everyone. The PD has a couple exciting things we'd like to just mention and talk a little bit about to you this morning. First, last week, a police department foundation fund was created and approved by the city council. You'll see these little business cards on your table. This police foundation fund was created in order to support the police department and the employees in different ways, like new technology, equipment, software, training, scholarships, and different various items of need for the police department. So if you're interested in making a donation or contribution to the Fredericksburg Police Department Foundation Fund. The information's on your table, and I'll be here after the meeting if you have any further questions.
I have plenty more of these.
Morning, everybody. So I was going to speak to you about our Citizens Police Academy. If you look on your table, there's a flyer that Alyssa had made out that has a little more information than what I'm fixing to give you. But we're trying to host an academy in January, starting on the 9th, finishing on the 27th. We meet for 2 hours every Tuesday. And what this is, it's an opportunity to get to know your police department. We overview how we function from each division on down. We do some jail tours and just get a real good feel for what your law enforcement's doing in your community. It gives you an opportunity to ask questions about what's happening in the community, and it gives us an opportunity to get to know more people in our community and just forge that relationship. So if somebody thinks they'd be interested in that, we'd really appreciate you signing up and attending. Once you complete the Citizens Police Academy, I don't know if everybody's aware, we have a volunteer organization. When you complete the academy, if you wish to join our volunteer organization, it's optional. You can attend the academy and go about your way, or you can possibly join our organization and be a part by volunteering. I'm going to let Alyssa speak a little bit.
Good morning. I really want to stress the fact that this is not just a class setting. This is a very hands-on academy where you are going to participate in practical police scenarios. We're going to stage a couple of crime scene investigations, do a couple of mock traffic stops with you, that kind of thing. We also have a range day that you can participate in. So it's a really active involvement in getting to know our police officers.
So for those of you that applied for the Fredericksburg Citizens University, if you are not selected, keep this program in mind. Again, just an opportunity to learn more about, one of our main city departments and everything that PD does.
So, and real quickly, we'd like to introduce, this is Alyssa Rivera. She is the police department's community outreach liaison, and she is spearheading a lot of these projects for her. So if you want somebody that is your #1 point of contact for Foundation or Citizens Police Academy, and you can't get a hold of myself or Lieutenant Raymer, she is the point person, and she will get back to you very, very promptly. She's very good at that. One other thing I'd like to mention is also in council, last Tuesday when they met, they also approved a multi-jurisdictional task force, and what that includes is the city of Fredericksburg, city of Kerrville, and the city of Bernie have gone into an agreement that if Fredericksburg needs aid for some reason, say we have a natural disaster or some big critical incident where we need more manpower or we need more equipment, then Kerrville or Bernie would supply some of that. And then as well, if they have an incident where they need more officers or more equipment, we will supply that aid to them. So there will be articles in the newspaper and on our social media and on our website about all of these topics. And again, feel free to ask us any questions after the meeting or reach out to us, by phone or email. And we have applications for the Citizens Police Academy here today. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. And just a little bit more on the Foundation Fund. This is something very new. These funds cannot support salaries, police salaries, benefits, but we are going to be working on a list of projects and equipment and so forth that will be available. So as you're considering giving to this fund, donating to this fund, you can do that to a project that you can actually see, feel, so forth. So all new, beginning to develop that, so expect a lot of more information pouring out of that. So as I mentioned earlier, what is coming up? So every year the City Council does an evaluation of the city manager. And just recently had my evaluation completed, and the council set a number of goals for me. I take these goals, I pull staff members in to help the organization accomplish these goals. A lot of these goals are very community-minded. I wanted to go through this list with you this morning and expand on just a little bit of this, and we have a couple of council members in the room if y'all would like to weigh in. So we have talked a lot about festivals, specifically the Food and Wine Fest. And you've probably seen some letters to the editor regarding the Food and Wine Fest. For a long time, the city of Fredericksburg has sponsored this event. In fact, is it the 33rd or the 34th year this year? 34th, Tony? You've been involved from the very beginning. So it is a very good event. Our city secretary, former city secretary, used to manage the event, and it was almost a full-time job for her, planning that and so forth. We made a transition 5-6 years ago with our new city secretary, and we're not devoting quite as much staff time to that. So we really are looking to completely reprogram the event. The decision was made by the council to suspend the event in 2024 to give us plenty of time to plan what we're calling a more inclusive event that's more in line with the food and wine industry that has evolved here in Fredericksburg, especially over the last decade or so. I think there's 75 wineries in the county now, something like that, and I hear there's 50 or so under development right now. So, you know, we're the Texas Napa Valley. You know, we're the second most popular wine tour destination in the United States. Again, you know, we're looking at other events, what they're doing, really ways to complement what's happening in the community, get the community involved. We're talking about preference for, in all events, preference for our local citizens, what that looks like. So, the council, as one of my goals, has tasked me with establishing a planning committee for the 2025 Food and Wine Fest. We actually have a meeting, internal meeting tomorrow, and a council work session next week on the 18th. We'll be meeting in the fire training room if anyone's interested in being there, listening in. We'll be talking about the composition of the planning committee, and we're pulling folks in from the wine industry, from the restaurant industry, the hospitality industry. We have talked about getting our new chamber president involved, a couple of council members, one that's been involved since the very beginning. Just really trying to, hospitality industry, really trying to include everyone and get those thoughts and ideas for that event. We always miss the opportunity to really stop and discuss planning for this event, because the day after the event, we're advertising for the next year. So that was really the reason for the suspension. Moving forward, we hope it'll be a bigger and better event and something that everyone can enjoy in the community. Development of Fredericksburg strategic plan. You've heard us talk a lot about comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan is something that we've been working on for the last roughly year and a half. That will be wrapping up in the February timeframe, early February timeframe. And that's really the input that we got from citizens, Fredericksburg citizens, to develop this roadmap for Fredericksburg over the next 10 to 20 years. We're going to borrow some from that, develop a strategic plan with goals and objectives, timelines for getting a lot of good work done. There's a lot of development going on, for instance. There's been a lot of questions about, can the city stop this development? Do we have enough water supply to handle this? Tourism is something that we're trying to get our arms around right now. It's very much needed to have the nice things that we have and all the city employees that we have, the police department, fire EMS, but at the same time, it can be a little bit of a hassle for some folks that don't have access to Main Street on the weekends, or restaurants and some of the things going on in neighborhoods. So, how to balance that. So those are some of the things we'll be talking about as part of that strategic plan. We'll be having a work session on that starting probably in the January, February timeframe. So for those of you that follow the budget process, we always start out with our capital improvement plan. Our capital improvement plan is a 20-year plan of projects and initiatives that are considered as part of the budget process. When it comes to public works projects, for instance, we have master plans that have been completed for our water wastewater system, transportation system, and so forth. All of those projects that come out of those master plans are prioritized and placed in this capital improvement plan. We have done a lot of projects, but there are a lot of projects and initiatives on the general fund side, the side that's supported by sales tax and property tax, that have really been tabled for a later date. So the council wants to discuss a potential bond package, bond election for potentially 2025 at this point. That might include things like parks, land and parks projects, street projects. We've talked a lot about transportation, a lot of these roadway connections that would help everyone in this room get around town. We're looking at projects, some facilities we have potentially may include in this bond package. We're looking for projects and things that really enhance the quality of life for our citizens in Fredericksburg, first and foremost. So that's another goal, is to put together a proposal. This will likely wrap up sometime toward the end of the year. It may or may not surface next year, but there will be a lot of community involvement when we're talking about this. So in that same vein, and I've talked about this a little bit as well, we're talking about, we will be discussing with the council ways to generate additional revenue in our general fund that do not place an additional tax burden on our residents. There are a lot of ways we can do that. We have very high valuations in the city, but relatively high taxes. The city, and I say this all the time, the city portion of your tax bill is about 13% of the overall amount. So for the average $450,000 home that has maybe a $6,000 tax bill, that's a little bit over $600 a year. So it's a very, very low tax rate on the city side. We have very little debt. We're really primed, to do some of these big projects to add to that. But a lot of ideas on the table right now for generation of revenue in the general fund. I've talked about this just a little bit in the past, managed parking on Main Street and giving a preference to our locals for a parking space free of charge. We've talked about that a lot. We talk about that at town halls. I've had a very positive reaction with respect to that. And really, towns like ours, especially where you have folks that drive in, park all day, jump on a wine tour bus, go out 290, and are really tying up a lot of these key spaces in those core blocks on Main Street. We're trying to turn that parking over potentially just a little bit more. So when we talk about Jim getting involved with the Main Street merchants, that relationship is very important. And in order for those folks to be involved in that decision-making process and help us make the right decisions about what to do if we ever develop a parking management system on Main Street and other areas in town. About a month ago, I was visiting with an architect that was visiting our community, and he was working with another community that did this parking management program, and their target was generating another $1 million in revenue. Just to give you an idea, our property tax collections in Fredericksburg are about $5 million a year, and our sales tax about $9.5 million. So we're much higher on the sales tax side, a lot of that coming from our visitors. This city generated $1 million the first year and $12.8 million the second year. And it was a relatively small town, and they're flushed with cash, and they didn't know what to do with all this excess revenue coming in. So whether it is ways to save, we're looking into to our own organization. We're doing an organizational review department by department. We've already started that with our IT department right now. Do we have enough staff? Do we have too many? The software that we have, is it creating efficiency? Is it costing us too much? You know, we're taking a look across the board at how to save and then also how to generate additional revenue. Maybe get a little bit more from our visitors. And again, the idea would be not to place any more of a burden on our taxpayers. And Randy, I don't know if you want to say anything about that or anything that I've covered.
No, the one thing I was thinking of is, you know, this property here.
Let's get you on the mic here.
When we started looking at this, I look at this beautiful property out here, and Andrea was working on what the rates were. And when I compared this property to neighboring properties, we were really, quite frankly, you know, pretty inexpensive. So just in a simple conversation Andrea and I had, and I asked her opinion, if we took our rates from X to Y, would that generate, how much more would that generate? And I think the answer was $75,000 to $100,000. So that's largely visitors coming into our beautiful town to stay, and that's just another example of tourism helping to offset the cost of living here. And I think we have a shared goal. Tony and I would agree, and the council would agree. That's some of the strategic things we want to take a look at. So.
Right. Thank you, Randy. And then finally, a couple of long-term initiatives, and this first one is something that we talk about a lot: long-term water supply, or water supply in general. So we did have a water master plan completed in 2016, was it, Chris? And we do have a very good list of capital improvement plan projects, many of which we have constructed. Most recently completed about a $20 million project that includes an additional pipeline coming into town from a new pump station outside of town on one of our existing well fields out to 90 East. That is a project that will serve this community for the next 100 years. And that's really what we're looking at when we're talking about water supply and in these water infrastructure projects. We're not looking at the next 5 or 10 years or even 20 years. We're looking at 50, 75, 100 years. The tanks that we built have a 75 to 100 year useful life. They're relatively maintenance free. Do you mind if I put you on the spot to talk just a little bit about some of the options that we may be talking about for long-term water supply, Chris, and just talk generally about the water supply in Gillespie County?
Yeah, certainly. So obviously with the drought and the weather conditions that we've seen over the last 5 to 6 years, and looking at historical weather patterns and what that does, it does go in cycles. So not just looking at weather patterns, but looking at future growth, comprehensive plan, a whole list of things that we're seeing across really Texas, not just the hill country. Obviously, we have we're very lucky to have the Ellenberger Aquifer below us. It's a very good source of water for the city of Fredericksburg. It has provided since really day one and when the settlers came in. But looking outside of that, what other options might we have? And I don't know the answers right now, but we definitely want to explore what those options might be. I know the state legislation and the government's looking at a lot of different things too. They have a lot of funding out there for really big projects. The regional water planning group, we're in discussions with Paul Tiber with the Underground Water Conservation Districts in discussions. They're developing their next 5-year plan that'll be coming out next year. So a lot of things going on, not just here locally, but regionally as well. We are currently working with one property owner in the area that has a very prolific well, and possibly trying to secure that. Again, that's a project that I think, maybe not a 50-year project for us, but again, just spreading out our resources so that we're not concentrating so much pressure in one particular area of the aquifer, that is. So I think probably not, maybe this year, maybe next year, getting a consultant on board to assist in Like Clint said, more of a 50-year, 75-year long-term plan, and really throwing all options within that plan and seeing which one sticks and moving forward with it. Our water supply, like I said, is very good. We're very lucky with the Ellenberger Aquifer, but we definitely need to look long-term, whether that's surface water or whether that's the use of reclaimed water, all options. And there's a lot of communities that are utilizing those resources right now. So happy to answer any other questions that y'all might have, whether in this meeting or outside the meeting. So, yes, sir.
Chris, you mentioned the $20 million pipeline project. Did you also earlier discuss a water treatment and wastewater treatment upgrade?
Yeah, certainly. So our wastewater treatment plant located kind of across from Friendship Lane and Main Street intersection, or 290 intersection, was built years ago. It was actually upgraded, capacity increased based on the use of the turkey plant. The turkey plant, if you recall, burnt many years ago and never got rebuilt. But basically our treatment plant was designed or expanded around that facility. Capacity-wise, we're about half of what our permitted capacity is within that facility. So we have capacity within the treatment process, but I will say our treatment itself is not a new technology. In other words, it's not one of the newer plants. It does a great job. It does what it needs to do. But currently our reclaimed water is treated to a type 2, not a type 1 standard. So it limits our ability of what we can do to some degree with that effluent. We would love in the future to possibly relocate and build a new plant. Again, that's a 20-year project, 25-year project, because we really don't need the capacity at this point. But with the continued growth, 20 years probably from now, we will need to look at, relocating. Obviously, it's on prime real estate right there in the corridor coming into town, Fort Martin Scott and all the developments going on there, the Texas Rangers, and just a number of different things going on within that corridor. So looking at possibly relocating that and building a newer plant that could treat to a higher standard would definitely be something that we will look at. And it's currently in our CIP, but it's one of those 20-year unfunded projects. We're talking $70 to $80 million probably just for the treatment plant itself. So it's a huge project. And again, we would build it to last the city of Fredericksburg a long, long time, like the current one is been built around. So certainly a good project, but a long-term project, nothing that we're looking at doing in the immediate future.
So while you've got the mic there, Chris,
yes, sir.
So in the summertime, our average demand during the week, we're pumping about 2.5, 3 million gallons a day out to the system.
Yeah, July and August
4 million.
time frame. Yeah, we're looking at close to 4 million, probably on average like 3.4 million. But we see some numbers over 4 million at times, 4.1. Not every day though. But yeah, we're probably 3.4 to 3.5 million average every day.
And how much reclaimed water do we push out to this golf course and Boot Ranch?
Yes, sir.
Per day during the summer?
So we receive about 1.2 to 1.3 million gallons of flow into the plant every day. About 1 million of that is treated, and during the middle of the summer is pushed out to the golf courses. About half goes to each. So about 500,000 gallons goes to each one of the golf courses, or 500,000 gallons goes to each golf course every day for irrigation of that facility.
So when we talk about water supply, it's not just new water supply or an alternative water supply. It's about getting creative with that reclaimed water to use more. I think we're, when we consider the flow that we send down stream during the winter, we're utilizing maybe half of that overall effluent.
It's all weather dependent, yes, sir. This time of year, it definitely drops to probably not even 200,000 gallons to each golf course a day.
Right, so in the summertime, if we were using potable water, that would be about a 25% increase in that demand. And that would be demand we would have a hard time keeping up with. I'm looking over at Kyle here, and he knows these statistics. I talk about the population growth in the state all the time. I see some new folks in the room that may not have heard, but when you look at the Texas Water Development Board State Water Plan that was published in 2022, or you look at other reliable sources, you know, the state of Texas population is growing, and it's projected to grow 80% over the next 50 years. And if you draw a triangle from the Metroplex down to San Antonio and across to Houston, about 75% of that overall growth is projected to be in that area. We're in that area, we're real close to that area, just right on the fringe of it. The hill country is where people are moving, and it's where water resources really are not as plentiful as some other places. So we're doing everything that we can to preserve what we have, and again, going after just a little bit more, getting creative in saving water and also new water sources. I'm very proud to say that we have one of the lowest, if not the lowest, system water loss in the state of Texas. When we talk about our water distribution system, we have about, on average, probably about a 5%, 6% water loss, so through leaks and things like that just naturally happen with any system like that. The average rural county, and I talk about this a lot too, has a 50% water loss. So for every gallon they pump out in the system, they lose half of it. We lose about 5%. So we've been able to really ratchet that down from when Chris and I came on board. We started a leak detection survey and got aggressive about fixing some of these leaks, and we saved enough water to accommodate, you know, about 8 to 10 years worth of growth. We're growing at a rate of about 1.2% per year, but that may be changing just a little bit. As I'm looking at our building department folks back here, we have a lot of apartments coming out of the ground. They don't use a lot of water, but that's definitely, you know, population increase that puts a strain on all of our infrastructure, whether it's streets, you know, additional resources in PD, fire EMS, and so forth. So that population may be changing just a little bit. But that long-term water supply outlook is something that we're going to be engaged in throughout 2024, whether it's aquifer storage and recovery of reclaimed water or other water. Chris mentioned surface water supply, getting additional groundwater supply around the area. We're taking a look at everything, and it'll be a 100-year outlook. We're not looking at what's going to happen in the next 10 to 20 years. It's really what's happening in the next century, over the next century. Yes, ma'am.
So will this future planning include, I hope, will it include a position, a full-time position for a water conservation program director? Not a part-time job, not an add-on for somebody, but somebody who can focus on this and really build a program.
That's a really good question, and it's something that we've talked about. You know, we talk about how important it is to educate our kids, you know, through our school system, kind of like this anti-smoking thing. You know, when your kids shame you about smoking cigarettes, they can do the same thing about water in the yard too much or wasting water. And they do that, but it really starts with, I think, those types of education programs, and also, you know, helping educate folks like you in the room. You know, we've been in stage 4 now since April of last year, and for those of you that live in town, you've really had to cut back, and that's had an impact on your landscaping, you know, the way your house looks and feels, but you know, it's necessary, and thank you for that. George.
So I'm one of the few that show up at the Underground Water Conservation District meetings. Appreciate more support there so we understand what they're doing. They are considering changes that the county is proposing to how the spacing of the wells will be in future approval of developments. But one thing that was addressed yesterday that bothered me is the assessment of the amount of pesticides and fungicides that are applied for each vineyard and peaches and everything, and the half-life of that. And you know, TCEQ is supposed to be watching the quality of our water. So if we have a valuable aquifer and it's being affected by pesticides more and more as we get more wineries. It seems to me we should have a real close eye on the pollutants in our aquifer. Hopefully that's part of the plan, but it doesn't seem like TCEQ is somewhere we can count on.
Well, I can speak to that from a personal standpoint. Not my city job, but my outside hobby, I guess you'd call it now. I have a peach orchard. I have a private applicator's license. We are regulated by the Department of Agriculture. They set limits on what can be put on that fruit, that crop, whatever it might be. And that's how it's regulated, George. I mean, we have to test it within our water system for all sorts of constituents. Obviously, we meet those or we wouldn't be putting it into the system. So there are definitely a lot of regulation that the state, that TCEQ, from a water sampling standpoint, requires before that water's put into the system. So, but as far as pesticides and stuff, fungicides, that's Department of Agriculture that looks at that. And it is regulated for sure. And I mean, people are fined and have to do certain things to remediate issues that they cause. I know and Fbg.Live could probably answer that in a lot more detail, but I know there's pesticide drop-off locations and so forth for unused pesticides and stuff like that. Brad Rader could probably provide more detail in that regard with the Department of Agriculture.
I will say that it's a lot more complicated when you have a surface water supply and a surface water treatment plant. There are a lot of things that are very difficult to remove from water supply. And as we're contemplating the continued use or expanded use of our reclaimed water, the same holds true for that. Although that technology is getting a lot better, it's very hard to remove hormones, pharmaceuticals, a lot of those types of things from reclaimed water. So as we're taking a look at these things, those are all of the things that will be taken into consideration so that we're not going the wrong direction with our long-term water supply needs. Yes, sir. Kyle?
Thank you, and I appreciate everything you're saying because reclaimed water is going to be so important. We have to use all of our water. Question on the discharge that we have from the treatment plant, it goes into the creeks, is that correct? That it's not being used on the golf courses?
That's correct.
Is there downstream advantages, disadvantages, any problems with what you're doing right now, since it's only a type 2 quality?
So we have two different permits with the state. We have the reclaimed water permit, which is under Chapter 210, and then we have a discharge permit into the creek, which is under Chapter 217. Whether we're discharging to the creek or we're sending the golf courses for use, it's two different treatment sampling requirements that we have to meet. We meet both of those, whether we're discharging or going to reclaimed. The reclaimed water is more stringent as far as the testing requirements that we have to meet than it is going downstream or being discharged into the creek, which ultimately goes into Barron's Creek, Pedernales River, and then I think Lake Travis, I believe, is where the Pedernales ends up. So, I know there's a lot of concerns about the use of the reclaimed water 100%, which some communities are doing because the use of that water as it goes downstream is somebody else's supply. So you're reducing that supply as it moves downstream. So there are communities that are 100% reliant on surface water that might not have as much flow. And I'm not talking city of Fredericksburg, we're a small city. I'm talking the large communities that are discharging millions, tens of millions of gallons, every day. Because when you think about the Metroplex, Dallas, Fort Worth, and they're discharging the Trinity River, which goes down to Houston, and how many communities pull out of that surface water, that river, and then discharge it right back, and how many times it's used before it gets to the coast. It's a lot of users.
Yeah. Right. And the second question is, can our schools, since they're all going to be on Friendship Lane, two major schools, can they be using any of your reclaimed water on their grass areas?
Currently, our permit would not allow such. So the Type 2 reclaimed water permit would not allow the use of irrigation of the ball fields.
Well, we play golf on it, so what do we have to do to make it?
Yes, sir.
To be able to make it useful?
That's the requirement of the state. It is allowed on golf courses, but it's not allowed on ball fields, soccer fields, baseball fields, football fields. When we were working with the state, working through those regulations and what's allowed and what's not allowed in our permit, that was one thing they would not budge on.
Now, what would it take to be able to meet a permit? Because remember, you have different qualities. You said you have Type 2, but there's different permits for going down the stream.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so the way our treatment plant is set up, we go from secondary clarification straight into our disinfection tanks. So typically if we're trying to meet a Type 1 treatment, we would go from clarification through a filter system and then into the disinfection tanks. We currently don't have this physical space on our site, and we don't have the hydraulics to be able to gravity flow it or push it through those filters. So we have looked at that as part of our master plan, installing filters so that we could meet the Type 1 reclaimed water requirements. We just don't. I mean, anything's possible. We could put mechanical equipment in, but operationally, it just doesn't make sense with our plant, and we really don't have the footprint to get that done within our site. Hence the reason why, if we ever build a new plant, we'd obviously increase the capabilities, we'd increase our technology, because again, it's a plant that works well, but it is not a new plant with a lot of new technologies.
Last question. It was brought up a couple months ago about using rainwater at the new middle school. Is the school talking to you about it, or can you maybe put a little pressure saying, hey, we won't give you water unless you put rainwater too? I mean, I'm not saying to do that, but I mean, this is so important. If we're trying to have the community understand about water, we need to take the lead as the leadership in this community to show how we can use water on our facilities that are in town here. So
right, and that's
I hope
another
that'll
thing
happen.
that you will start seeing show up at city facilities, rainwater catchment basins. We were planning one for City Hall. We're planning one out at our consolidated warehouse currently. We're looking at all of our facilities. We'll be evaluating all of the fixtures in all of our facilities. As part of the comprehensive plan, we're looking at not only low flow fixtures for new development, but landscape requirements, some of this rainwater harvesting potentially. You're right, all of that adds up. It's just like the reuse of reclaimed water. The more of those alternative water savings measures that we can have in that toolbox, that just results in us not utilizing as much of that water that's coming out of the ground. So, we've learned a lot of lessons. People talk about the drought last year. This drought's been going on since 2007. It really peaked in 2011 and last year. We're getting a little bit of rain, but it takes a while for that water to get to the aquifer. It takes about 10 months from a rainfall event, a good rainfall event. And we capture about 4% of what falls on the ground. So we've kind of missed that window when we talk about next spring and summer. We're hoping the rain will continue. It is supposed to. It's supposed to be a little bit milder summer, but we have no control over that. But we're working to control what we can control, and a lot coming up from education, and folks that are dedicated to doing that, plugged in all the time, to doing exactly what you're talking about and setting that good example. I completely agree. Very important. We can tell everyone what to do if we're not doing it ourselves. Yes, sir. So last thing I wanted to mention as a long-term goal of the council is to expand community outreach efforts on a monthly basis. So this is part of that. I am blown away by the fact that a lot of you show up here month after month to listen to our staff. And for the new folks, thank you for showing up. Literally, we have grown this event from when it started, long before when I was in Chris's position, we'd have a dozen people show up, and John's shaking his head. I think he probably showed up. We probably have 80 plus people in the room, or about 80 people in the room. We've had up close to 100 before. So expanding this type of outreach, our town hall series has been very successful. I don't know of any other city that's doing that, where we divided the city up into literally 27 different areas, and we're going to your doorstep one time with the entire council on a driveway. The mayor and the council or police chief is always there. Number of staff, we have 6 or 7, 8 staff members, talking about your neighborhood issues and listening, giving an update, but listening and helping you solve some of those problems. And we've done that. There's not an area we visited where we haven't, within a couple of weeks, addressed a few of the issues, whether it's a four-way stop that we've been talking about and we can actually hear it from the residents and we understand what you're dealing with. So that's the type of outreach that we're doing. We're very interested in listening and hearing from the community. And we want to expand on that. Coffee with a Cop is something that the chief has started. I mentioned the county. I'm going to try to get a county commissioner here a lot more often. We're already talking about a new series of town hall meetings in 2024, maybe a little bit larger meetings, quarterly, something like that. We'll just have to see. I want to get our different departments out. I don't want to be doing all of the talking. I tried to pass the mic a little bit this morning. There's a lot to learn, whether it's development related, finance related, public works, PD, and we want to be as transparent as possible. We want you to know what's going on, and we are really interested to know what's going on in your neighborhoods. So that outreach, expect a lot of neat new stuff, and again, when we go around the room here, I'm really anxious to hear back from you what you would like to, what information you would like to hear from us, any special topics you would like for us to cover. At this point, before I go around, I would like to give the opportunity to our council members in the room, if you had anything to share with the group. Tony, Randy, anything else? All right. Dennis, I'm going to put you on the spot for just a brief county update. All right, here's the mic.
Yeah, that's right. And you want me to talk for an hour or two? Good luck. Well, just kind of give a recap of with all the changes with January, with the new judge coming in and the change with some of the commissioners and whatnot, we've been cleaning and going through our closets and cleaning those out and repainting walls. And if you've been around the courthouse, you see us polishing brass knobs and fixing up the old courthouse. So things are changing in that regard, and along with that, we've got the new county engineer, and then she's been working very diligently with the subdivision rules, and we're headed in a new direction with density and water. And the last 1 or 2 meetings with the court, the public is starting to see and feel some of those changes where we don't go around and let a 1-acre development, those kinds of things take place. And so those are some positive changes that are going on. The library's been getting shaped up and repainted and cared for, and we're really, really close to having a librarian, and hopefully the judge can make some announcements the first week in January, but we've been doing our due diligence to keep that library open and following the rules of the state and the U.S. and what's going on there, and with books and getting those to the public. And survived paving season and still working on bridges, and the rest I'm up to questions.
All right, so as we go around, just keep in mind that city and county questions, I don't know how long Dennis is going to stick around, but while he's here. All right. Kyle, anything to add? All right. Well, at this point, I will go around the room, and again, if you have any questions, comments, we'd love to hear those from you. Could I get a raise of hands right quick? Who in the room has applied for Fredericksburg Citizen University? I know a couple. Okay, several. Okay, so 4 or 5 there. Thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to start right here. Mr. Thompson. What? You have anything?
I know nothing. Best to be seen and not viewed.
All right. John.
Good morning. No, this is my first time back again. As you recall, I do used to go to all the other meetings, and I'm just here to listen today.
Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Bill Wagaman, Heritage Hill Country. I guess one question was update on Turner Hall.
Update on Turner Hall. So that's another property that we'll be talking to the council about, how to develop that property. There's a lot of discussion starting to happen regarding the future of the middle school property as the new middle school is being constructed. So I think the hope, and this came up at a town hall recently, I think the hope would be that we could do something that might be part of a community center right there, but I haven't been involved in those discussions. I know that the FISD has pulled in the mayor and a few other folks in the community to just begin those discussions. But we would hope it would be part of something a little bit bigger in terms of a new development right there. And again, a little bit more community related versus a STR complex or something like that. Well, we had a developer looking at it for construction of an STR complex. So it's really one of the main motivators for the city to purchase that when we did. So a lot more to come on that. Yes, sir.
I am Tony Conti. I'm with the Andrew Cheese Winery on Main Street. Always good to listen to what's going on in town. Very interested, since we're opening up second place soon on 290. Interested in your challenges. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. We'll jump right here. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Annie Blakely, and I grew up here in Fredericksburg, so I know lots of you guys. This is my first time here, and thank you. I'm concerned about the landfill running out of space, and also interested in glass recycling in Fredericksburg and other recycling initiatives.
Okay, well, I might have Garrett Bond touch on the life of the landfill and what we're looking at in terms of a completely different operation out there and why, and talk a little bit about glass recycling.
Yeah, so a lot of work is being done in regards to the landfill. Based on our last report, we only have about 8.5 years of life left in that facility, which that sounds like a long time, but in terms of a landfill, we want to be looking at 50 years of life. So we do have a consultant working on a preliminary engineering report. One of the things we're focusing on is a potential transfer station. So we're actually going to tour a number of facilities tomorrow. So we're working with a lot of people. There's a lot of exciting things happening with landfill facilities. I know it's not a sexy word, but
we need to improve your quality.
Well, so in terms of glass, other recycling potential, there's a ton of that. So that's one of the big topics we're looking at. The transfer station gives the city a lot of flexibility in regards to recycling. So I would think in January or February, we'll hopefully sit down with the city council, kind of talk about the options that are out there. But that's something we want to get started as soon as possible so we don't run into a time crunch here. But if anybody's been out to the landfill, we have a great facility out there, but you can see how quick it's filling up. We did recently revise some of the fees. That's helped reduce some of the out-of-county waste we're seeing. That's part of the problem is our fees were so low. People were hauling it in from Kingsland, Marble Falls, those areas. So it's really working. It's reduced, but some of the tonnage, 3 years ago we were seeing maybe 125 tons a day. Now we're 250, 300 tons. So, you know, we're losing a couple years of life each year. And so again, that 8.5 years really isn't 8.5 years. So a lot more to come, but again, it's an exciting time.
So you have to understand that Chris Garrett and I are professional engineers, and we geek out on stuff like water supply. That's one of the reasons landfills and all that real exciting stuff. We could go on all day long about that. But Jeff, would you like to say something about glass recycling and some of your research in that area, what some other cities are doing? That's another piece of this that we are interested in trying to find a way to do that, because there's a lot of glass generated here that goes into the landfill.
My name's Jeff Williams. We recently formed a nonprofit called Empty Harvest, and the goal is to get the wineries to recycle not only their glass, but all their cardboard and even their corks. So we're currently in the process of soliciting donations and signing up wineries to participate in a pilot program. We'll start it smaller and hopefully grow it. We're not at the point where we can do the glass yet, but we think that if we can get them used to recycling the cardboard, which is another main waste component from them, we can divert 15 or 20 tons of garbage away from the landfill every year just from the wineries. And if we can get to the point where we can collect and recycle the glass, that could be up to another 100 tons a year of glass that we can take out of the landfill. And there's a lot of potential uses for the glass. I've been talking with Garrett a little bit about that and providing information. So we don't have to truck it out of here. We can use it locally. And that's the key to making recycling successful, is keeping it local. So that's our goal.
You bet. Thank you for that. And a lot of cities are getting into this. As Garrett mentioned, I think one of these days, kids are going to say, you really used to put trash in the ground, or water supplies below that. I think this transfer station is a really good conduit into increasing our recycling and even potentially converting that waste stream into energy. A lot of other countries do that. This country, you see a lot of that in the Northeast. So beneficial reuse of that. It's not just going into a landfill somewhere else. Thank you for that. Yes, sir, Bill.
I'm Bill Snyder. I'm a resident on Center Street for the last 19 years. I'm just here to listen.
Thank you.
Dawn Moreau, Carriage Hills. I'm interested in the parking on Main Street because as a Fredericksburg native, I never park on Main Street. Trying to back out into that traffic is nerve-wracking. The only time I ever see natives parked in there is the night before a parade. So I think maybe you might want to take a look at how many residents actually park on Main Street.
Right, and there are a lot of reasons why they don't, and we hear a lot of those. I circled the block 3 times and decided to go to a drive-through,
right.
Or whatever the case may be. So a lot to come on that. Parking is a very dynamic thing. I will say that TxDOT will be doing a project sometime next year.
It's supposed to start this year, probably early next year.
Resurfacing of Main Street that will also include restriping, elimination of that no man's land in the middle,
right.
to make that outside lane a little bit wider so that backing up and parking is made a little bit easier.
It's still taking your life in your hands.
But I agree. But some of the transportation projects that we're talking about will hopefully take a little bit of traffic off of Main Street and give, especially our local citizens, a way to get around town without having to get on Main Street.
Yeah, well, we all use San Antonio and Austin Street.
Right, right. So, we had a town hall where we were talking about a lot of speeding traffic on Austin Street, West Austin Street. People running through the Cherry-Austin intersection, a number of people speeding down the street there. So we're looking at ways to address some of that, to calm the traffic down just a little bit right there. In case you've seen PD cruisers parked there, that's one of the reasons why.
But don't get rid of that night parking before the parade.
Right.
That is the coolest thing in the world, to drive down Main Street and see all those pickup trucks.
You bet. We'll never get rid of that.
Okay, Mickey Cunningham. I'm in the city here. And thank you for bringing your crew along. And they are always so knowledgeable. They can answer any question that we can throw at them. And then for the council members and police department, EMS, all the other ones that come along and help out, it's just an amazing event every month.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
The only question I have is, what's going in front of Walmart?
Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Michael? What's going on in front of Walmart on the side of the hill?
Right now, it's a multi-tenant building, and right now the only tenant we know of is Sherwin-Williams Paint is the only one that's applied, but there's going to be three tenants in there. So.
And then we have HTO going in front of Sutherland's right there. What are some of the other things coming up, just off the top of your head, that might be visible?
That are coming or?
That are under construction right now.
The apartments on Friendship Lane, I'm sure everybody's familiar with. Both of their clubhouses are getting ready to open to start rentals. I would say we'll start doing the finals on the apartments within the next 60 to 90 days. So we're going to do each building at a time. I would say they would be done by this summer.
How about the intersection of Milam and Live Oak, right there on the corner?
It's going to be like a women's shelter, the mom center. We just got the permit application for that. I would say their work's starting, but I don't think they'll start going vertical for probably 60 to 90 days.
What is it?
It's called the Mom Center.
Oh, it's okay.
How about a little bit further south on Milam, on the opposite side of the street, the west
Dr.
side?
Kovard dentist office is going there. If you've seen that across from Dr. Schmidt's, be another dentist facility there. So a lot of stuff going on.
So a lot of apartments. I've mentioned just about every time, about 585 or so under construction, with about that many more approved for construction. So a lot of apartment units coming up. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Deborah Urbanski, and I moved here almost 4 years ago to retire. I moved from the fourth largest city in the United States, Houston, so we picked Fredericksburg specifically for its way of life. And I'm thankful to you for these conversations, because it's been a quick change that we're seeing, just being very new to the community. And I've been a mediator for the last 35 years in the jobs that I've had with in my own private practice and in Houston in the federal government. But what's concerning me is it seems like a fixed pie discussion about tourism versus our infrastructure and our needs as a community. And you mentioned balance earlier, and I still think that that's so important, right? Because sometimes I hear that tourism is offsetting our taxes and we should be grateful because we would be paying a lot more. And then I think to myself, well, we wouldn't need a larger infrastructure. We wouldn't need, our water to be looked at, and our hospitals and our police department and all of that if we didn't have so much tourism. So it's a cycle. Mm-hmm. And that's probably what concerns me most, is that I'm very appreciative that you're going with plans. All the places that I worked for, like NASA, they always had these very strategic plans, and so I'm grateful that you're looking at that. But it's still concerning that the conversations seem to be fixed pie and tourism versus not. And I think there's so many more facets, and it's so much more complex than that. And so I appreciate you.
You bet it is, and a number of us just met with the Convention and Visitors Bureau folks yesterday. They have a consultant on board. Sean, can I put you on the spot to talk about that just that overall effort, and really the reason for the community sentiment survey We got a lot of feedback like you're talking about there, and how we're sorting through that and really what some of the end goals are. I'm really putting Sean on the spot here.
All right. Thank you, Sean Dory with the Convention and Visitor Bureau. Clinton mentioned yesterday we had our third-party company in town that is developing our tourism master plan. So in the same way that the city has developed a comprehensive plan, this tourism master plan will look at future development around the city and frankly around Gillespie County. A portion of that is the resident sentiment survey that was conducted earlier this year. So this group is putting all that information together. We met with them as a staff yesterday. There are stakeholders from our tourism community who have given feedback to that group as well. They will come back with a finalized plan in January, and we will kind of take that as a roadmap for future development and our actions as an organization going forward into 2024 and beyond. So really looking forward to that and managing the growth and the development that is happening in our community.
So a lot more to come from the CVB. In fact, I might have Brady come and give a very comprehensive update regarding some of the feedback that they've received from residents and the consultants, and maybe fill in some of the gaps. But I don't disagree with you. And we talk about that a lot. It's definitely a double-edged sword. In fact, we're talking about, instead of promoting tourism as much, managing tourism just a little bit more. So that was something that was discussed yesterday.
And one other thing, the movie theater, has anybody asked about reopening that? Because we talk about our children, and something to do for them, and that's something that maybe tourists wouldn't necessarily want to visit, but certainly the children in this community and even the older people in this community are missing a movie theater, and other small communities seem to make that happen. Right. We have a film festival. We have so many things that, and I just wondered if anybody's paying attention to that as well.
I really can't give you an update on that right now, but as part of the discussion yesterday, there was a lot of emphasis placed on what can kids do in town, and what can kids, local kids, what are some of the activities that we can incorporate into, into Fredericksburg for the kids that live here to enjoy, as well as, folks visiting Fredericksburg. So that'll be another really big part of the conversation there. But thank you for your input. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Cindy Turner. We live across the street from the post office. I've been here before to talk to you and your staff about the fence debacle. We've gotten nowhere through Chip Roy's office. I have asked on 3 different occasions from your staff for a written letter from the city that would reinforce your position that you will not enforce zoning ordinances on a federal property. And my first request was in March, and I still have not received anything from the city of Fredericksburg.
Okay, I will follow up on that for you. And I believe you were talking to our Development Services Department, maybe?
Ms. Hudson, I've asked on 3 different
Okay.
occasions,
I will
one
follow,
in writing.
I will follow up on that today for you.
Okay.
And if I could get your contact information so I can get back with you today.
I'm Hugh Reeves. I live in the Historic District, and I just came to wish you guys a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you, too.
Well, I'm Becky Reeves, and I also live in the Historic District with my husband. And my question is, when are they going to open up 290 and remove those barriers so that we can access all 4 lanes in the turning lane on 290?
We need to bring a tech stop. We have a lot to say.
Well, and we do have a call with TxDOT this afternoon. It's to talk about a number of developments, but I can't give you a firm date. I know they're getting close. I think they're wrapping up some utility relocations, and then they can open it up. The issue is they're starting the other project closer to Stonewall. I don't know if y'all have seen that yet. So again, the big concern is working with the Eclipse traffic. So they're working with their contractor, starting to schedule around the eclipse because that's coming up. So.
What is the speed limit going to be on that road once they get finished? Is it going to stay 60 or are they going to kick it up to 70?
It will stay 60 for now, and then they anticipate doing a speed study. That's how TxDOT sets their speed limits. They do a speed study, and it's based on the 85th percentile. So whatever speed 85% of the traffic is traveling is what they set their speed at. Okay. So just to clarify though, 290 is its own animal because of some of the wrecks that have occurred out there. So if anything, it won't increase above 60. They'll look at it. I would say for the interim, it'll stay 60, possibly dropping down even further if there's continued accidents.
So I know there was a lot of laughter there. The 85th percentile use of that for setting speed limits is an international standard, not just something we do in the state of Texas here.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know what day they do the study? On a Tuesday. We tried to get them to do it on a Saturday so that they could see what the traffic was really like. But they do it on a Tuesday and base Fredericksburg traffic based on a Tuesday. So if the city or county can help me, we need to really make them do it on a weekend.
We do provide some of our own speed studies to TxDOT. I don't know if they use it or not.
So I wanted to mention Lindy. TxDOT did a speed study on Tivydale from Friendship Lane, or not Friendship Lane, from 16 South to city limits. Yes. And that did result in a speed limit reduction there to 50 all the way out that way.
You just got to be patient. It took me 18 months with Garrett's help to get the 290 west toward Harper coming off that hill. 18 months.
So again, it's a development corridor. There's been a lot of new development there, a lot more traffic, a lot more curb cuts, driveways. So with that, TxDOT generally reduces that speed based on the study. George.
George Studer, live over by Cross Mountain. And this is going to be a busy year for elections, and so part of what I do is help coordinate monthly meetings at St. Joseph Hall that will include candidate forums and ways that you can get more information about the candidates. That schedule will be coming out shortly, but we've got it all reserved. Two requests. One is, it seems like the county, the county and city emergency preparations or recommendations for people for a freeze needs to get maybe a little bit more public awareness, or it just doesn't seem like the people are ready. If the freeze happened January 5th, are people prepared for it individually? Because response if individuals are ready. So about the hospital and hospital fund, and it's been a topic of here several times, but we don't hear anything. I know there was one report that if you paid money you could go to the special event that they had a month or so ago, but I'm really concerned that we are not aware of what the hospital the foundation and what's the status on the.
They just gave $500,000 to the new.
Well, I'm glad you know. I don't. I'm just, that's the kind of information that individuals know, but I'm not sure that we all collectively know what the status on the hospital and the fund is. So that's my 2 cents.
I'll see if we can work on getting someone here to give an update on from that organization on the funding and how they're considering projects to give to. Merry Christmas, Rosemary.
Merry Christmas, Clem. Merry Christmas to everybody, if I forget to tell you. My name is Rosemary Estenson, and what brought me here today is probably 10, 20, 30 things, but well, I'm not going to tell you all of them because you'll get tired of hearing me, and most people that know me know I have an opinion. My girls said, Mom, are you going to the meeting this morning? I said, yes, well, use your filter. Well, if you know me, sometimes I have one and sometimes I don't. So if I've upset you or if I say something, I apologize. All right. What brought me here today is many, many things up and down Main Street. I don't know if I'm now the oldest retail tenant on Main Street, but I'm certainly there somewhere because my friend Mr. Dooley left me. I was hoping he would make 100 years. You're still here. Okay, well, what I do on Main Street, sometimes I walk from Milam to Elk. I've done it many times, gone in and out every single store on Main Street and talked to a manager or an owner, and we are concerned about a lot of things, okay? The thing that concerns me right now, I thought we had an ordinance that had no holes in it as far as neon on Main Street goes, okay? I even took one of my wonderful friends that manages some things in the city and a council member. I took him down Main Street. I said, get in my car. We're going for a ride. Now, sometimes you get in a car with somebody and they take you for a ride, okay? All right. So I drove him by this neon sign, and the looks of it is nice. It's retro. It's vintage. It used to be there years ago. But, folks, it is neon. It is hanging out front over a sidewalk. Neon, I thought, in our ordinance was supposed to be inside. I wasn't okay with that, but I have to be okay with that. That means inside your building. You see these open signs and you see these beer signs, and I'm in the beer business, you know, so if you want beer, you can come see me in town, all right? But things outside, so I took my friend, got him in the car. I took him by this neon sign. He hadn't seen it yet, and maybe you haven't seen it at night. And the other thing is we have Pussy Galore down the road with pink at night. Go down there and look. That's wonderful. Okay. What? Well, you're laughing. Okay, you know where I'm talking about. Okay, so once I showed this gentleman this sign, I said, now close your eyes. I'm heading west. And I said, just think, if we don't take care of this one, and there's some others that are already here, you're going to have neon because everybody wants to bring attention to their business. Everybody's concerned about revenue, right? And money. Sometimes you ask what you get for, you don't really want what you get. Okay? So, close your eyes and think that and there was 200 retailers from Elk to Maine, and everybody, because this one was approved or that one was approved, and the next thing you know, we have Pottersville. Everybody knows what Pottersville is. Everybody watches A Wonderful Life at Christmas time. Is that what you want? Be careful what you want. You're going to get it. This is my opinion, okay? Now, I own the Fredericksburg Brewing Company in town, okay? I've been there 30 years. When we opened up, we said no smoking. I can't tell you how many phone calls that you'll never make it, you'll never blah, 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 blah. But my mother died from emphysema, and I'll be big fat rat's butt if you're going to smoke in my place. Well, guess what? Nobody smokes inside anymore, right? That I know of. You can smoke outside. I'm trying to get rid of that somewhere else, but you can smoke. So back to the neon. You want revenue? Right now I have a 12 o'clock liquor license, okay? Another thing about the liquor license and I'm in the liquor hospitality business, folks. If we don't stop this 2 o'clock, you've had too much to drink at 12 o'clock anyway. If you go somewhere from 12 o'clock to the 4 establishments that stay open till 2, and if you had our police officers there and you were trying to pass a breathalyzer test, I guarantee you'd probably flunk it. So charge them $500. If you take them out to the calaboose out there to the law enforcement, oh, well, it's only a $150 fine. If we can, raise it to $500. You want some revenue? Get some revenue. Okay, now, the front of the brewing company goes 60 feet. I have a lot of glass there, okay? I usually close by 9 o'clock. You want some more money? Okay, you got pink on east, on the north side. How would you like red going west on the south side? Because I can turn all my beautiful Christmas lights to red. I can have pole dancing from 10 to 12 in my beer garden, and if you don't think I can bring in more revenue, I guarantee you I can. And when Mr. John Dooley was alive, I mentioned that to him in his little office in the back, because we were talking about revenue then. It was dead silent for a minute. How many of you know John Dooley? Sure, half of you know John Dooley. You know his son. Well, anyway, he looked at me and then he started laughing and he said, Well, you know what, Rosemary? If it was anybody else telling me this story, I'd be concerned, but you care. So if you, I'm not going to do that, but I could, and I could give you more money. And the girls that I found in San Antonio are really cute, skinny, and up. Have you ever tried to climb a pole thing? Well, good luck, okay? But we talk about control growth, folks. And the thing about water, all I wrote down about water is, remember, trust but verify. People tell you things, you believe them, verify it if you can. If you're in a position of power or influence, and you might only be one person, I'm only one person. Do something. If you see something, say something. If you don't like it, don't sit on your derriere and do nothing. And you talk about 10 or 20 years, I'm going to be 96 years old in 20 years, and maybe I'll still be talking to you, and maybe I won't. But there's a lot of people in this room that are going to be here, and I'm going to be dead and gone. Pay attention to what we're doing. And 290, is Tom Musselman in the store today? I mean, he's not here today. Okay. Back in 2017, the first time my husband went in the hospital, I knew from 2017 on that I was going to lose him, and I did last year. Okay? Drinkery Row was on the front page of the Austin Statesman, and I have this little bag full of stuff that I carry. Tom said, well, what are you talking about, Rosemary? You're the only one mentioning it. I didn't mention it in the first place. It was mentioned in the Austin Statesman, but that's what we have now out 290. And you said 58 wineries. I think we're now down to 78. I don't know if we can control it or not. But if you don't like it, say something. Say something to the people that might be able to help you. And sometimes if you have to go all the way to state level, let me tell you what, it takes forever. Who said 18 months? Okay. Dealing with government, whether it's local or state, takes time. It takes somebody with passion. It takes somebody time to do that. Okay, I'm done. Sorry.
I'm still hung up on the poll thing, but
If I could, Rosemary and I are good friends. We get together for these discussions all the time, and she's right. She's not afraid to speak up, but she makes a lot of very good points. I had no idea what I was getting into when she asked me to go on a drive with her, but I was a friend that saw the sign. So thank you for keeping an eye on those types of things, not being afraid to speak up. Because there's not a thing that you've mentioned to me when we've met that hasn't been beneficial to the community. So thank you. Yes, sir.
my name's Carlton Turner. I won't dwell on our neighbor to the south, the post office, if we could have a moment after the meeting. But my question is, there's a construction site to the north of us, and on October 25th, we had 3 to 4 inches of rain. And that gradual slope, we did not get mud, but we got sediment from that work site. I called Mr. Williamson the next week. He assured me that there should be a sediment barrier between the construction site and our home, our residence. And nothing happened. A month later, I called him. He said he wasn't aware of it. He would get back on it. So I don't know where we are on that. We're anticipating another rain in the next few days. I don't want to power wash the back patio again. So if we could get some support on that. Also, a question about the motel to the west of us, the old Howard Johnson's or whatever. What's the status of that? Because we notice I don't want to say transient, but the rooms aren't being rented, but there's people staying in there. There are people out there barbecuing outside the hotel at night. That's our other neighbor. And the main point about all this is 15 years ago when we bought our house, none of these problems were there. And it's just, we can't wait to get out. I don't know when the zombie apocalypse is coming from the other side of the house, but what are we going to do about that? So.
Well, regarding the construction site, the developers do have to put up those.
They had told that, but as of this morning, there was not a barrier.
But they are not, at this point, completely regulated by the state. Correct? We're not an official, what's called a municipal separate storm sewer system, where we have to submit an annual report to the state. So Garrett can probably talk just a little bit more about this. So it's really what we recommend to the developers to control a lot of that. And Garrett, can you talk about that just a little bit more?
Sorry. Yeah, Clinton's right. So it is regulated by the state. It's erosion and sedimentation control plans. It's called the SW3P, but we still we monitor it. So that's definitely something I can look into. I think some of those controls were removed so they could do some finish grading, but we'll make sure that's put back up before the rains. Hopefully we get. Okay. Understood. And then as far as the hotel goes, I do know the Gillespie County Health Division and our fire marshal have been working with them. I don't believe they're allowed to have guests at this time, so I think those are workers. I didn't know they were barbecuing out in the parking lot and things like that. But there is a plan to remodel the facility. I don't know, Michael, do you happen to know what stage they're in? I don't think we've seen a formal submittal yet, but they did come and talk to our development review committee about plans to redevelop that property.
Didn't they go to planning and zoning? Talked about the one on the corner.
Okay.
Yeah, they were planning.
Okay, so again, discussions are underway. We haven't seen the formal building plans for the remodel of the structure yet. So again, we'll talk a little more about the post office as well. That's the one just west of the post office. Is it? Yeah, I think it's Wine Country or something like that.
Okay. Gwen.
Hi, my name is Gwen Fulbrook, and I live here in the city, but I am all about the airport. And this Saturday, we are going to have Santa fly in. So you need to get out there, bring your kids, your neighbors' kids, everybody. This is a really great event, and we collect food for the food pantry with this event. Last year we had a truck. The back was full of food, and so we want 2 trucks this year to be filled with this. So Santa is going to be flying in from, it's going to be from 1 to 4, and we have this awesome little coloring book that is going to be available for kids, and it was illustrated by one of our pilot's 13-year-old daughters. And it's the story of why Santa would be in Gillespie County at this time of the year when he should be up north, right? Well, he has to come and get his annual on his sleigh. And the reason he comes to Gillespie County Airport is because Gillespie County is the birthplace of aviation, right? Anyway, so everybody come out for this. It's a huge deal, and we look forward to seeing you out there. Thanks.
Thank you, Gwen. Mr. Siegel.
Lindy Siegel, County Line, City County Line. Congratulations on your review, and thank you to all of your staff for this great year. I have a warning and an appeal. Warning-wise, to George's point, look overhead on your property and make sure that the utility lines are clear. During the ice apocalypse, my easement was not, and they had to cut in from the top of the mountain. So take a look overhead, call CTEC if you need to, or anybody else. The appeal. Drive cautiously, please. I lost 3 friends, 3 of a 4-person family the day before Thanksgiving, just west of here. I'm seeing people speeding through Walmart parking lot, HEB parking lot, the airport for one. Be cautious. Keep your head on a swivel. Flash your lights at people that are reckless. And Chief just gave us permission to call 911. If you witness reckless driving that's endangering our community, call 911 immediately, please.
Thank you for that.
Debbie Campbell, I live in the county. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Keith Lee Wagner,
Cross Mountain area. I just want to thank Clinton and Chief Voorhees at our meeting a couple of weeks ago. We mentioned the dumpster at the corner of Burbank and Milam. It was affecting our line of sight. That's a highway there, and the cars are not coming slowly. Within 2 days, it was moved, and we thank you. And our 90-year-old neighbor came by to thank Don for mentioning it. So thank Don, the chief, and Clinton for
Thank you.
listening. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you for that.
And Merry Christmas to everybody.
Thank you.
Don Widener, I was with Keithley and Cross Mountain. What's the stat? I looked everywhere in our ordinances and everything else. Chickens and chicken coops, in, like for instance in the Cross Mountain area, we have wandering chickens, and I'm just curious. We've had chicken coops in backyards, but what are they allowed to have them? Yes. There you go.
Alan Williamson, I live in the city, have no problems.
Thank you.
Bill Vernon, I live in the city, no questions, no problems.
Thank you, Bill.
Ron Murray, proud graduate of the first police academy class. And it wasn't nearly as sophisticated as I understand it is now, but it gave me a lot of pavement time directing parades, traffic and parades. So congratulations, I'm glad you're still doing it.
Thank you.
I'm Kate Walker. I live in the city and glad to be here. I'm very interested in recycling. I was glad to see Annie here today because I know she's part of the movement towards getting glass recycling in particular. So I'm very interested in it being comprehensive and very easy. So whatever we can do for that. Secondly, this afternoon at 4:30 at Marketplatz, they're lighting a menorah, and I think that's an important part of our community. We have a significant Jewish community here, even though we don't have a temple here in Fredericksburg. And for this season of Hanukkah as well as Christmas, I'm really glad to be part of a community to do that. And my last thing is a question: what is a mom center?
I can't answer that question. Michael, can you expand on that?
I have a little bit of knowledge. It's a facility where people can go who are in need of services if they're expecting. They can go, I think they help out with medical treatment. I know our club did a drive for diapers and things like that. So, yeah.
Ms. Hamerson.
Carol Hamerson. I just want to say that in a time in our country when we have such acrimonious and conflicting opinions, one of the things I love about Fredericksburg is we listen. And Rosemary, you were very gracious in what you said and very accurate, but that's kind of what makes Fredericksburg what it is. We should never give up the passion that we have, and we should never miss the fact that we have a wonderful city staff who listen to us, we have good neighbors, and we have to keep that sense of community. Growing is great, but not if we lose that beautiful sense.
Thank you. Dr. Hamerson.
Eric Hamerson, live in the city. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Jeff, anything else?
Jeff Williams, I live in the county.
Tim Dooley, former member of the City Council. I just want to compliment Ms. Estenson on her continued advocacy for our community. We all thought that Gloria Hill would live forever, but I'm sorry, but she didn't. So there she is incarnate right now.
There you go.
Kyle Biederman from Biederman's Ace Hardware. I had one question about the landfill. What about cardboard? Because when we had our meetings years ago, that was one of the largest components of the landfill. And why are we not recycling more cardboard?
We do accept cardboard at the recycling center. That is one of the biggest tonnages we see from a recycling standpoint. So that's a big part of the program, and we'll definitely focus on that.
The percentage that's going to your that's going to the recycling center is a fraction of what comes into Fredericksburg. I could tell you, I probably have as much cardboard that goes to my store that I recycle that goes to your probably whole thing. I'm just saying, we need more than just making people go to the recycling center. We didn't go there because it was too difficult. We had too much cardboard. Every single business has so much cardboard. Is there a way to have more drop-off points for cardboard that you guys can pick up and then you guys recycle? If not, it's all going to landfill. And you look at almost every business, they're full, they're thrown in the dumpster.
That is one thing we'll be looking at with the transfer station discussions. That does open up the possibility for curbside recycling. That has been cost prohibitive in the past, but if we have haulers here, that is a definite potential we can look at. That would also allow for additional facilities throughout town to accept cardboard. The thing with cardboard, it has to be kept dry, so you can't just have an open bin somewhere, and allow people to drop it off. It has to be protected from the weather.
I'm sure we can figure that out because our landfill's being filled.
Yes, sir.
Shirley Smith, excuse me, I live in the county, and I love these meetings because I learn so much, but no questions today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Brenda Cole, I live in the city, and I'm like Carlton and Cindy. I live on the downside of Travis from the radio station project, and the front of our house and the apron to our garage on our driveway is filled with dirt and rubble from that project. And I mentioned this a month ago, and I've not seen anybody come and want to scrape that out of my street. And I don't have a power washer, so I don't have the ability to get rid of it myself. And if I did that, I'm just pushing it further down Travis. It needs to be removed. And I don't know why this construction company, whoever, has not been held accountable for what they have done to the people on all sides of that project.
We'll take care of that. We'll make sure that's taken care of.
John McManus, City. I think you've had enough comments for one day.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. Cheryl McBride. I live in the city, and like everyone else, this is a great forum, and we appreciate all that the city does for us. I just wanted to say kudos to Daisy Schneider and the utility department. During the Thanksgiving holiday, I emailed her with a question about my account, and I thought, well, she'll write me back on Monday or Tuesday after the holiday. Sure enough, like 30 minutes later, she gave me an answer on Thanksgiving Day, so I think she went above and beyond. Thank you.
I'll pass that along to her. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Jerry Russell, my husband and I just moved here from Florida 3 weeks ago. I haven't been here long enough to complain about anything. We do love it here. We are tired of hurricanes, so that was our primary reason. I will say the lack of recycling of glass is an issue for us. I'm embarrassed to say this, but we drink a lot of wine. And I really tried box wine in order to save the glass, but it's just not working for me. So we have resorted to sending our empty bottles home with our kids.
Thank you for that. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Lena Staggs. I'm the branch operations manager at Happy State Bank here in town. This is my first event, and just want to say it's been really great and really informative, and just really came to check to see what it was all about. And we are partnering with Gwen Fulbrook this weekend for the Santa Fly-In. So please, if y'all are able to come by and help supply our food pantry, that would be great. So thanks for having me, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thanks for being here. The same to you. Yes, ma'am.
Connie Krenmuggy, live here in the city, have no complaints, but I am for the glass recycling because I take mine to San Antonio to my daughter. And I do recycle cardboard, tin, newspapers, anything else they will take.
Thank you.
No, just two reminders from the CVB perspective. Fredericksburg's Christmas Nights of Lights, the nightly lighting countdown on market plots continues through Sunday, January 7th, each evening at 6 p.m. And then obviously the eclipse in April is a big project for us, and you can get information for residents at Eclipse in Fbg.Tx.com. That's the central city hub for all that information. I'll take off my CVB hat for a minute. I'm on the board of the Bethany Preschool. And George, I can answer the Create Healthy Foundation gave the Bethany Preschool $500,000 as part of its capital campaign to build a new preschool building. So there'll be a picture in the newspaper today, but that's $500,000 of where that went. So thankful for them for helping kickstart that program for Bethany Preschool.
I'm Bert Luna. I live in the county. Don't have anything or comment right now.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Deb Youngblood. I am a member of the Pertinalis River Alliance, Gillespie County, and we are a group of concerned citizens, and we care about the Pertinalis River, the creeks that flow into it, and the watershed. We're concerned about trash because that is eventually all going to flow down to the river. We are concerned about development, and we are watching specific developments that have either earned our attention or we don't know much about, simply because, well, they sometimes cut corners, they don't all, but sometimes they don't know. And so we try to work with them as well. We work with the Underground Water District anytime they need us to do to teach water conservation. So anytime we have issues on the river, like for instance, a while back we had somebody pumping water out of the river. Well, that's illegal. And so we called the county commissioner and the sheriff, and we also advised the person who reported it to us to make the calls, because sometimes they don't, the calls can't come from us, they have to come from the person who witnessed it. So we have another issue that has been ongoing for a number of months, and that's the shooting range. It is in a location where it could contaminate the river. The current shooting range does not meet any OSHA or EPA standards, to my knowledge. So we are concerned about any updates that you might have for us on the shooting range.
Sure, and I just met with the property owner yesterday. We're working on an agreement with the property owner west of town for a city, county, all-inclusive shooting range, so we're no longer pursuing that on that site.
Do we anticipate when we can stop having that mound of dirt used as a shooting range?
Right, and this new range, Chief, what does the timeline look like for getting that done?
The timeline is looking really good. We just received the legal agreement or legal contract back from the attorneys yesterday, so we will be getting that in front of the property owners for signatures, and we'll be utilizing the new range northwest of town. We will not be using the property off of Old San Antonio Road for any type of departmental shooting range, massive shooting event or anything like that. So we're very close to finalizing that agreement on a different property.
Thank you. Good news.
Thank you.
That's it.
And last but not least, I wanted to see if our videographer, Mr. Findley, had a question, since we have a county commissioner and others here.
What am I supposed to say? What was your question? I'm sorry.
Do you have anything for the group?
I'm grateful to get to be here. I've learned so much in doing these, and thank you for welcoming me into this and all of your encouragement to continue.
Well, thanks for being here. Paige is an awesome guy. Thanks for showing up every time. Thank you all for being here. It looks like recycling will be one of the topics that we touch on quite a bit more the next few times. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nature and beauty along the fairways at Lady Bird have a way of slowing life down. While the front nine features significant elevation changes and the tranquility of Live Oak Creek, the back nine stuns with its panoramic vistas of the surrounding hills. As the home of the Fredericksburg Junior Golf Foundation and the Fredericksburg Middle School and High School golf teams, all of us at Lady Bird Johnson Golf Course are proud to support our community's tradition of excellence. Lady Bird Johnson Golf Course. Practice, play your way.